Hello, Courtney. Great to hear from you. As soon as I pulled your cards, I started to get messages right away. And it's amazing that you got the Ace of Earth, because that's about significant abundance flowing to you now, getting a promotion, salary increases, unexpected money, starting new businesses. But what you need to do, it says, consider all the opportunities carefully, because here's what I'm hearing, and this also stands to reason. If you really like your setting where you are, your friends and everything where you are, guess what? By having another opportunity available to you, you already have a winning chip in your pocket. All you need to do is state to your higher ups confidently is, listen, I have another offer and I was told I would receive this promotion for quite some time. It's been on hold for 9 months and I'm going to take this other opportunity unless this promotion is provided to me as was mentioned. You know, you have the upper hand here. You not only have other choices, and lots of times what happens is companies and higher ups will start to just stick with the status quo. If they don't feel like you're not going to stand up for your money, why would they offer it to you? However, as soon as people speak up, that starts to happen for sure. And if they don't show that they respect and value your time and work and effort as much as they should, you should definitely go elsewhere. Because I love this Nine of Earth. It's about you're enjoying life's little luxuries right now, and you're going to spend some quiet time alone, and you're going to get the answers that you're really seeking. But the unique question about this job front is we have to push. We do. I mean, a lot of times I used to be like that too. I'd sit back and go, well, I've already been here, 6 months this is due. I've already been here 12 months this is due. Guess what? Anybody who likes hanging on to their money isn't going to freely offer it to you. And unfortunately, the people that are one step above us like to think that they're saving their company money by not paying out these promotions and salary increases that are due. So it can be a very cutthroat environment when it comes to parting with their money. So like I said, you have the upper hand, and listen, I have other opportunities that were offered to me. If this is not going to be implemented right away, I'm afraid I'm going to have to take this other offer. You watch, that promotion will be on the table faster than you can believe. If they need you and value you, that promotion will be on the table. Otherwise, it will stay as the status quo. People just happen to think that way. But here's something interesting about being offered a new place. You have to ask yourself a few questions, okay? Do I feel like I'm still learning where I am? Do you feel like you've reached some kind of ceiling where your creativity is not at its height? You're not utilizing all your skill sets? Because the one fascinating facet I found about people's jobs is once they get complacent, bored, and or they're no longer challenged, they tend to fall into a kind of doldrum. It becomes the same old, same old. So we continually need change, challenges to uplift us, to make us grow, to expand who we are. So really ask yourself those questions. Also, you can make a list of pros and cons, I'm hearing as well. Get a list. What are 5 things you really enjoy about this job right now? What are 5 things you could do without? Really see how much those things you could do without keep popping up. Obviously, the fact that they had offered you something that they are withholding from you, that's not walking the walk and talking the talk. There's a dishonesty there. There's a quality where if it happened once and you sort of let those boundaries go back, they're thinking, oh, she's a bit of a pushover with this. If she's not pushing for her money or she doesn't think it's that important, why should we? I know it sounds a little harsh being said, but I did that to myself for years because that's one thing I don't like to discuss money, because I just feel that and it's not that I don't feel like I don't value myself or I don't deserve it, but I don't like other people's reactions to having to part with their money and how they make excuses, because I feel like it belittles them. And oftentimes I've lost respect for bosses because how they've gone about trying to withhold money from other people. In fact, that's why I left my last 2 jobs. Was really seeing the truth of the matter when I knew my boss had it, and I knew I was definitely somebody she depended on in a very heavy way. And in fact, I should have had way more money than I wanted. But because I enjoyed where I was, I sort of set a precedent, a boundary that said, that's okay. You don't have to pay me anything. I'll do double the work of others. And that's where we have to watch our boundaries and what we're establishing with others, what we're willing to put up with. Because once we start to accept the unacceptable, guess what? It'll keep coming our way. So another thing is, are you being challenged enough? So in your list, yeah, what do you find challenging about your current work? What do you find you keep sort of going on autopilot about? That's really important, because that's not what we want. We don't want to get in some comfort zone where we become like automated, right? We definitely want challenges and originality. And and it's funny that you mentioned the aspect of your friends. That was one of the huge reasons that I stayed where I was. I loved so many of my fellow employees in my last 2 jobs. And it's kind of unique how I stayed at each place for almost 1 solid year. It was kind of neat because I feel like I learned everything I wanted to learn, but then I saw some established patterns that I knew weren't going to be broke. And the unfortunate thing in some companies is the people that can be directly above you, one step or 2 steps, they fear competition. So instead of being a healthy mentor and egging you on and getting you the things you need, they're afraid that you're going to be able to replace them. So they start to actually create blockages and problems for you in that regard. I've seen that endlessly. Every company I've been in, when people start to think they have to put other people down to elevate themselves, it's a shame. And it creates a really tough environment of competition, and disloyalty is another thing. So what you want is where you feel safe and comfortable, but again, you need to stand up for what is owed to you, because people are very respectful of that, especially if it's documented. Listen, this company stipulates that after this amount of time, we are due this. Is there a problem that I'm unaware of? You know what I mean? It doesn't take pushiness. It's simply, actually, it's business law. People are due in any single job that they work at an increase in pay, because guess what? Inflation happens, increase in lifestyle happens. So it's almost like a form of bending the law the wrong way if a company isn't giving you your due. So definitely stand up for that. And if you find them prevaricating and backpedaling and not giving you the answers that you're waiting for, guess what? You don't have to put up with that. And right away, if you don't see results from that, put in your 2 weeks and see what happens. You watch that either about face, or you'll realize that it wasn't worth it. Because it really is nice to have friends. I'm going to pull a couple cards for this too. I feel this is some things coming into your life too that you're going to have some lovely, yes. See, I knew this was going to come up. Value your self-worth. And this is huge right now, in that you are God's precious gem. Your time is valuable. Once we recognize our own value. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm just going to bring this up for an instance. When I first began my jewelry company and I started posting things on Etsy, I was only pricing things just a slight amount above what the materials cost, just because I was exciting to be making it, this and that. But when I started to follow a business format of, oh my gosh, the shipping, my time that it takes to design this and that, I thought it was crazy. But I was like super undervaluing my skill sets by doing that, and also almost giving away my merchandise. It was almost like I was going out shopping for beads, then doing all this work of designing, putting them together with, these gorgeous clasps, which I would even forget, to put in. They were real silver, everything. So it was like I was undervaluing my work. So I would, after a time, and even Ian would go, that should easily be double what you're selling that for. And at first I was like, no. And then as I started to get more and more successful with this business, with tarot and everything, I realized it really is your time that's important here, and time is of the essence. And sometimes it's bizarre. It's like, if I could go into any instance or do some specialized thing and make over $100 an hour very easily, but half of the time I have to realize, hey, how long have you been pushing? How many reads have you done in one day? How much counseling have you done? PTSD with people, and I take on that energy. High anxiety clients, all these things. Then you have to realize what's actually worth your time. You know what I mean? And you reevaluate how you spend as well, which is very unique, right? If you put into context how much money you make an hour, and you're like, oh, I really like this handbag, boots or whatever, and you go, well, I had to work an hour for that. I remember that hour of my time. And what I'll do is I'll take my most challenging hour. Like if, it was somebody, like I do have some clients that they they're very hyper needy because they're very anxious, and they will literally text me every 5 minutes about somebody, and that, you know, that hour's work will be very precarious, and I'll be like, is this item worth that time that is lost? Then you decide what work you want to take on or what expenditure you want to take on. You really understand that, you start to understand the true value of your time, but value your self-worth. Really think how your higher ups talk to you. That's a message I'm hearing very clearly. How do any of your bosses talk to you when they first see you, when you brought up the raise and promotion, or any of those things, or when you start an insinuation that it's missing? How do they react to that? Do they react stubbornly, defiantly? Do they shut you down? Because every single person in the right business mind and frame of mind opens that door immediately, realizes where you're coming from. They have empathy for your point of view. And I often, when I was younger, I always felt like asking for raises and promotions was like tantamount to begging. You know, I was like, well, you know, they'll get to it. They'll get to it. Guess what? If we don't remind them, they will not get to them. Why would? It's almost like you went to a market and somebody said, oh, you can have this for now and just pay me whenever you get a chance. But you live in another part of the world, and you're like, okay, I'll mail it to you. And then you get to your other part of the world, and they're like, are they really going to miss it though? It's all about ethics, business ethics. You are owed what you are owed, and you really need to value your self-worth, because once you do that and you stand up for yourself, life becomes a different place. I'll tell you what, the day that I walked out of work after I set an example for myself, I said, if Matt says this to me, and this was my boss at the time, and he was getting more and more lazy, and everybody was taking on more and more of his work, and every time I saw him, he was literally in his office on his computer, planning his, kid's next event, eating, chilling out, not doing any work. He wouldn't supervise. He wouldn't do anything. And I said, but what he didn't like is when we were seen shining in higher ups' eyes, and he would try to do things to that. So for an example, the night that I left my job, I said, if he says one thing negative about this hard work that I just put in, that I have had to scope out everything for myself, because he certainly doesn't have any leadership qualities. He says one negative thing, I'm walking out that minute. And that's exactly what I did. And that's what we have to do, because it shows that we value ourselves. And when we value ourselves and our self-worth, we treat ourselves differently. We allow different things. Our boundaries become different. What we'll accept will become different. We feel a lot better about ourselves. And it becomes a kind of practice for ourselves. It becomes a way of life where, you're not going to speak to me like that, or I'm not going to go out of my way for you. You've never reciprocated. Things like that. You start to notice all these little things of the takers around you, because there are givers and takers in this world. It's just the way they are. You'll notice people that have a sort of parasitic quality about them, where they're always like, hey, can you give me a ride? Can you lend me money? Can you do this? Can you do that? They take. You start to notice that, and then you draw a line in the sand. And again, that shows you, you value your time and who you are, and you're not just going to give it away. And I'm hearing this too. I feel that right now with this message, stay strong to your faith. A positive outcome is dependent on you keeping a positive mindset. And the positive mindset is about, wow, I'm a valuable commodity. More than one company wants me. Now I'm the one that holds the cards. I make the decisions. So you can write out a list of the pros and cons to each one. This new company that this friend was telling you about, what could happen there? You can form new alliances and friendships. You can get a fresh outlook. You can expand on your skill sets. Anything that is new is expansive, because you haven't been there before. If you're driving down a new road, you're going to see new trees, new flora, new fauna, new everything, right? If you're driving always on the same road, sometimes you miss out on those gems, okay? Now, what are some of the pros at the job you're already at? You could be in a position for a pay rise and a promotion. But the thing is, well, woulda, shoulda, couldas. Are you going to go in and actually say, listen, this is due me, right? And stay strong. Definitely no, this is due you. This is not something you made up in your head. It's not like just something you want. It is actually a business bylaw that people need their increases. And what happens is, if we don't stand up for that they're covered in their own legalities by simply saying, well, this person never asked for it, so obviously it was unimportant to them, right? There's all kinds of weird underpinnings to that. So your pros and cons list, how you feel. Do you feel diminished in any way where you are? Do you feel like you already have established friendships? But guess what? We form friendships and alliances every place we go. It's just what we do as social creatures. So really get on that list. I'm feeling that's very important for you to devise this list okay? Because I feel like never ever underestimate or undervalue yourself. Realize the positivity of this. This is a cool stepping stone in your life going, hell, you have all the choice. You really do. You're holding all the cards, and it's like, how do you want to play them, right? It's really positive. It's really wonderful. But trust the signs of your inner guidance right now, you know, because it's going to lead you to fulfillment. And don't give up. Protect what you've created. You know, have courage and definitely believe in yourself, because these great things are coming. And another message I'm hearing too is that it's a wonderful time for you. You know, you're going to succeed in ways that you didn't dream you could with this lovely abundance and success that's coming your way. The work you've done personally and spiritually is going to bring some astonishing changes into your life. It really is. So I'm going to stop and restart this so I can upload it faster. It's easier in 2 parts. So we will be right back.